All right, looks like we are live. So, hi all, I welcome you to weekly Meshery development meeting. This is a meeting that's held every Wednesday, and I think this is the second meeting of the month. We talk about everything that's on Meshery, your open pull request or issues, or if you have got any questions around the Meshery and how to use its extension to collaboratively design and manage your cloud native infrastructure. So we also discuss them. We have a couple of announcements, standing agenda items, and topics that you all have open on various repositories, and we go through all of them. There's folks on the call, and in fact, anyone is welcome to offer their feedback or any sessions that they have got on these topics. So yeah, please feel free to drop any issues or pull requests that you're working on if you are in need of feedback or if you need any help. With that, there's a couple of things that I'd like to quickly mention. So if you are not yet part of the Slack workspace, I will be dropping the link to Slack community in chat. Everyone is so welcoming, and I'm hopeful you will find folks who will be guiding you towards the area where you might make an impact. There are any number of other resources linked into this Google Docs. So again, assuming that many of you are just joining and may not have access to the Slack, history of the chat, I again dropped in the link. So also make sure that you mark your attendance. We'll be following the tradition, and that is, if you're joining this call for the very first time and are a newcomer, please unmute yourself and give a quick introduction. So irrespective of whether you have joined any other meeting, if this is the very first time that you're on this particular call, you get to take the stage and sound off with where are you calling from, your interests, and maybe how did you come to know about the community. You might as well would like to share about your favorite colors. So I'll take a look at participants. And Siddhant, is it the first time that you're joining this dev meeting? If yes, do you mind giving your introduction?
Yeah, hello. This is the first time I'm joining the development meeting. I came to know about this community from one of my mentor, like good maintainers in async API. He suggested me to go for Meshery for the upcoming LFX. So I joined this community this week only. I was in the last meeting that was, I think, held yesterday or day before yesterday. And I like my basic background is in web development. The whole web development roadmap I have essentially done till Next.js. And on the side, I am also learning about Docker, Kubernetes, and other clusters. And I am also planning to learn Golang as a on the side as well. Thanks.
That's just awesome. So first of all, thanks a lot for giving your introduction and also joining this call. Yeah, there are any number of areas which needs help and might well align with your interests. So in fact, we will be coming to those areas pretty soon after this introduction. So I'm hopeful that you will find area or two where you can get it started. So again, welcome on the call, Siddhant.
Yeah, thanks.
Next up, I think another newcomer that we have on the call is Caramel. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name correct, but do you mind unmuting yourself and giving your introduction?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm Kamel Jegi. I'm from Benin in Africa. I'm a web developer and I'm really excited to learn about Golang, Kubernetes, and cloud native technology. It's why I entered the community from the LF Inc.'s mentorship. So that's what drive me here.
Thank you for your intro, Caramel. I'll just quickly once ask if we have any more newcomers left on the call who are yet to give their introduction. If yes, please to unmute or either sound off through chat. I welcome you all to this call. I don't think we have any more newcomer. All right, so with introductions, next up will be, okay, so even before the next item, I'll once again share this Google Docs so that you all can write your name in attendees. And yep, if you have got any issues or pull requests that you're working on, simply drop them in and we will be discussing them if you need any help or want some feedback. Next up would be announcement on we are all celebrating Ian, I think, who is also on the call. I'll quickly check. Yeah, he's there. So let's welcome Ian as new Meshery maintainer for UI. You might have seen him doing any number of things in the community, guiding any number of folks in writing playwright tests and a number of different topics that he is helping steward in here. So congratulations, and you know it's a welcome and celebration for Ian. If anyone would like to chime in and share some few words in this occasion, I just simply invite you to take the stage and do it either through chat, or if you would like to do it through mic, that's also welcome.
Hey, thanks. Hey, I'll take that opportunity. Hey, that's great. This is awesome. Ian's on the call, I think, and it's just time to embarrass him to the extent that we can. Ian, if you're here and you guys start to enjoy the community or start to enjoy any of the projects, he, like a number of couple of other maintainers, if you scroll down in the, not that Vivek has to do this, but if all of you scroll down in the meeting minutes, you might see other announcements from this year and years prior. Maintainers come in all shapes and sizes and ages, and some, not sure what the youngest age we've had. Is it 19, I think, as a maintainer? Ian, you're not 19, are you?
I wish.
Yeah, Ian comes with a little more wisdom, maybe I should say, than that. And anyway, the reason I was chiming in is I did my, well, as I said a few honest remarks about Ian's ascension to maintainership yesterday. And I don't know if one of the things that I had said was that, like, for all of you that are on the call, if you'd ever like to see your face in a card like this, the majority of the rest of us, or maybe I could speak on behalf of 100% of us, we'd like to see your face in there. Or like, this is a big project. There's a lot of stuff to do. And only speaking for my part as a maintainer, as I weigh in on various things that we do, I only have one brain, and it's like, it's this big, somewhere in there. And it can only think of so many things. It makes mistakes all the time. We need other brains. We need other fingers on the keyboard. And if you end up, aspiring to have your face in a picture like this, Ian's journey is an excellent one to reflect upon. The synopsis is fairly familiar. It's something like showing up, awkwardly being forced to introduce yourself the first time you come in, wondering what the heck do they mean by that? Do they want to know my favorite color, my grandmother's name? I don't know. I'm not sure what they want to know, but he did. And then the next day he showed up again. And if you can tell where the story, he showed up again the next day, and he just kept showing up. He kept asking questions and providing answers, and both. And he keeps doing that same cycle. He answers questions for others. Sometimes he answers his own. Sometimes he asks for others. Sometimes he challenges other people. He gets challenged by other people. Yeah, there's a certain amount of tenacity that it takes to do that. You got to be, first of all, you got to have enough cojones to ask the question. It's not very comfortable to say, I don't know, implicitly when you ask a question here. But I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know. Should I have been here from the start of the project? And I don't know. All kinds of things I don't know. And it is not embarrassing to say that. So say it. Anyway, be like Ian. Put your name and put your face inside of one of these pictures. We're going to go celebrate Ian and at the same time ask him to continue stewarding the project like he is. In fact, we'll end up putting a little more bite behind his words, and laying out a bit of a path for Well, carving out more of a scope of responsibility for him and the things that where his voice is the strongest, where his voice weighs the most. It's a meritocracy around here. So the more that you show up, whether that's at a meeting or just, it doesn't need to be in code either at all. But just the more that you're engaged and do, it's a very natural thing. The more that naturally, the more that your voice weighs or your opinions matter or your influence on the project is. So, and again, it doesn't matter if you're 84 years old or 17 years old. You are engaged how you engage others here. So think about that. Cool. Okay. Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Lee. Speaking of, the paying it forward culture in the community, Ian took a contributor training session just last week on how to contribute to Meshery's UI test suite using Playwright. So again, you can catch up with that session. And this is something we'll be coming back pretty soon. So again, there's this link. This is linked in the Google Docs. All right, once again, congratulations and welcome, Ian. Next up, we'll be moving on to the next set of items that are standing as in the items on CLI and UI component. And I think both the maintainers are available. And so for the CLI, covering the CLI item, I think Matthew would like to share your updates.
Yes, not a lot of stuff, but let me share my screen. Okay. So here it's the Meshery CTL command tracker spreadsheet. So for those who don't know Meshery CTL, it's the CLI that it's coding Meshery API, and it provides functionalities against the API. And here, this spreadsheet is just a way to have all those commands listed and see what is the current status. The only changes I made was for the experimental connection command here, which where I have done a pull request yesterday. I will present the pull request later because it is in the task I have. And yes, that's pretty much for that part. I will also go through the Meshery test plan for the CLI part. I did not yet update that sheet, but there are a lot of commands that have been covered with the BATS end-to-end test. I just not have time to make the update here. I will do that for next week. But yes, and for those who want to contribute in GitHub, in our Meshery, perhaps it's little, in our repository, there is that epic where you will be able to see all the open issues to create those end-to-end tests, and I will share it in the chat now. And yes, that's it for me.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, have you heard? I wonder if we should ping Ria. She might be tying off her last a final exam or something, but I just hadn't seen her in a little while. So some love sent her way, Mike. Yeah.
Yes, I think she told that she had some exams currently, so she will not be a lot present for now. But if I'm right, it was until next week or the other one, something like that.
Oh, I see. Okay. Man, I hate exams. I mean, I hate the fact that contributors take exams because they have to be away from the project. So I think I hate the exams worse than the contributors do. So uh, anyway, Ria's doing great. Matthew, a couple of questions for you, and maybe for everyone else here on the call as well. So you mentioned connections. So the idea that Meshery connects to various other resources, resources being a very general word, but what a significant type of connection that Meshery has is to Kubernetes, like to the Kube API or to a Kubernetes cluster. And it's such a timely focus. Not only is it part of what we're hoping to improve upon in the .9 roadmap, the current iteration, but it's also been an area of focus for Ian Whitney, who we just mentioned, and the notion that both the efforts from the perspective of the CLI and from the perspective of the UI are both hitting on the same topic, like connections in this case. And what a beautiful that'll be a real accelerant for the exchange of nodes, the exposure of bugs, the hardening of that area, like the ability to move that out from experimental as fast as it ever could, because there's just so many eyes on it. I think Zahan is on the call. There's a bit of a documentation failure. And speaking of me saying that I have a tiny brain and that I don't know things, I also say that for my part, I just want to be clear on when I speak on my behalf, which is I have failed with respect to docs and explaining Meshery connections and the fact that when Meshery is connected to a piece of infrastructure like Kubernetes, like what state that connection is in. Does Meshery have a healthy connection to all 5 clusters that it's managing? Or is one of those connections unavailable? I'm sorry, there's a squirrel outside. I know that sounds, for those of you who've seen Up, the Disney movie. Anyway, squirrel, but it's chewing on a small stuffed animal, Yoda, in my backyard. There's a little Yoda. Yeah, I know. We're a bunch of nerds here, I guess. Anyway, what a thing. What a deal. Okay. There's all kinds of nuts out there. I don't know what's going on. It's like, but it wants to chew on Yoda, the stuffed animal. All right. I have failed to ensure that we are concisely conveying the concept of a Meshery connection and the idea that it goes through different states, or that it can be a healthy connection. It could be a connection that you don't want anymore, like you don't want Meshery to manage that particular. I'm going to keep using the example of a Kubernetes cluster. It's the most prominent one, or it's the most robustly managed connection. It's probably the most important, at least for now, for the project. But I'm on the wrong page here. I wanted to kind of call out that in the same manner that there's a real focus on testing how connections are functioning from the CLI's perspective and from the UI's perspective, that just from the perspective of the documentation, this is another area that could use enhancement. If you all are like me, I love myself a nice diagram to be able to digest a topic. This one's a little involved. So it's like, this is nice for my brain to sit on and look at. But beyond that, the way that the documentation reads with respect to, well, a simple question like, hey, what happens if I delete this Kubernetes connection? Is Meshery going to turn down the Kubernetes cluster? Is it going to uninstall the Meshery operator that's over there? Is he going to orphan that operator, leave it in place so that it can come back and reconnect? And so this is something else that hopefully we would radically change. There's one thing that, two other thoughts I want to offer on this real fast. So that diagram that we all just saw, it comes from a collection of diagrams that are in one of the many resources that are part of Meshery as a project. One of those resources is, well, there's a Google Drive with all these docs and Google Slides and design specs. And the Google Drive it's a shared drive open to all of you. So just go grab your access to it. One of the slides in there is Meshery architecture. This is a highly referenced deck. One of the diagrams in here is just exported and put into the docs. Great. Very helpful. That's something that ideally, basically, every slide in here should probably go into the docs somewhere. Some of it is good for users to digest. Some of it is only good for contributors to digest. It's sort of there are certainly lots of contributing guides to the project, and then lots of user guides. If that's one thing I wanted to convey to you all, I'll drop a link to this particular deck into the chat. The second thing I wanted to say, and I'm done, is, well, a number of us are familiar with the idea that one of Meshery's plugins allows you to do visual diagramming and orchestration of your infrastructure. This sort of a diagram is probably a candidate for representation in this visualizer, and then to have embedded into the docs. So for us to use Meshery to document Meshery could be something to do. It's always good to dog food your products, to drink your own champagne, to eat your own poop, or I mean, to have your own. I don't know if you guys have heard these phrases. Not to eat your own poop. That's not a phrase. That's just a terrible joke. But drink your own champagne. Eat your dog food your thing. Yeah, you use your stuff. So food for thought as well. Cool. Thanks for letting me offer up comments on that.
Right. Thanks a lot, Lee. Okay, and the next component is UI, and I think Amit, who is also one of the maintainers, has some items to share today. So Amit, would you like to add
Yeah.
it now?
Yeah, so this is a spreadsheet where we track all of the UI migration we are doing in the Meshery UI. So in the Meshery UI, there are some old and outdated dependency, and we try to migrate to the latest version and all of the data that we are tracking in that sheet. And currently our major focus was like migrating the data fetch and the Axios library to the RTK query migration. So we already have the latest RTK query Redux toolkit setup. So we are just leverage those RTK query and remove this Axios library. So in the recently there are some contributor like the Libian and the Pratik and Fahim created some PR that migrated those to the RTK query, and still there are some of the components is left and not assigned. So any of like the UI folks want to contribute, they can chime and they can comment in that sheet to get those assigned that component. And the next thing we are tracking like migrating the Meshery UI to the schema driven approach. So we have like the Meshery schemas repo, and we want to like all of the information, not all of the, but like the all of the forms and like all of the forms and the models information, the description from the schemas repo. So currently it is the duplicative work in the UI and in the schemas repo. So we are leveraging those from the schemas and having the single source of truth for all of the description. So there are some of the component that has been already been the schema driven and some of are left. And also like we are migrating this React query that we defined in the Meshery UI to the it will be come from the schemas repo, so we don't have to define like the duplicative RTK query stuff in the Meshery repo, so we can leverage those from the schemas directly. Any question for this?
I think not. Does anyone have any question or any feedback?
I got a quick question. One of okay, man, I'm so compelled to provide context for everybody. It's hard for me not to. It's just in my nature, I suppose. By the way, if you're into JavaScript and you think you might do React-oriented things here, jump in. Amit has been hip deep, neck deep. I'm not sure. He's been drowning. He's in the UI. And go shadow Amit. He won't be able, he's going to physically relocate. And as part of that, in a couple of weeks or so, he'll have to move on his focus from the project. And so there's tons of things to learn from Amit. He just announced just a second ago, I think, that we're off of this legacy approach to Redux and are on to full RTK or the Redux. And the way that we use RTK query and benefit from caching and so on. Part of what we're trying to do as a project and the way that we develop the project is to be more disciplined around the idea that each concept inside of Meshery is described in an open API schema. Just, each concept in Meshery, like a connection. What is a connection? Well, it's a concept in Meshery. And so we just wrote down in open API format what that is. And when that concept gets implemented inside of Meshery server in Golang, or inside of Meshery CLI in Golang, or in JavaScript in Meshery UI, or any of the extensions, hopefully they all reference the same schema, the same concept verbatim. So they all reference these same JSON files, YAML files. And right now, that's not the case. We haven't, the project hasn't been disciplined in that way since its genesis. But it is becoming more and more and more disciplined in this way. We're finding less and less bugs as we go to do this. So one of the things that Amit is highlighting here is the fact that some of these components are being refactored with that approach in mind. They're being refactored not to be hand coded all of it from scratch, but to leverage these schemas.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway, that was the context. Now, finally, just for the simple question I had, there is part of us developing in this way means that there's tooling necessary to be able to generate scaffolding and generate TypeScript. And I think one of the other maintainers, Abid Sofi, he had mentioned the need for an enhanced tool here. Do you guys have that now?
Yeah, so we have the PR for that. We didn't like get into that area like all of the RTK query definition we got from the schemas. But yeah, it is not currently implemented, but he opened a PR for that.
Nice. All right, good. Great.
Yeah, and also I created the docs documentation for how we can contribute to in the schema driven UI approach. So it will be like more clear after the docs we merge that. Yeah, that was all. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Amit. And apology, I have to turn off my video. Like there's no electricity, so just a heads up. All right. Yeah, so like we were talking about CLI testing and command like the Meshery CTL, and I just wanted to point out that we have guides and contributor training session from these maintainers, and it's all linked down into this newcomers training table. We also have one scheduled for tomorrow that will be taken by none other than Amit himself. So yeah, if you'd like to be part of it, I invite you to join the newcomers meeting. You can find all the details about the meeting in the calendar that I'll be dropping in the chat, and that you also can find in the header. All right, we will now be starting with the topics, and the very first item is from Oyefule. So let's take a look if we have them on the call. Looks like we do. So Oyefule, would you like to share and present your work?
Right. Mic check, just to confirm that I'm audible enough.
Yep, you are. Everything is
Okay.
perfect, yeah.
All right. Let me share my screen. Give me a minute. One, two, three. Okay, please let me know if you can see my screen. So,
I'm afraid that we are not able to see your screen. If anyone can confirm. Okay, now we can, yeah. Just go ahead.
okay, okay. So just a background overview. This came up during KubeCon, right? I think the link to the issue. I'll be sharing the link to the issue in the chat. And the idea behind it is to, expand on Meshery's security integrity, about say. So basically, VEX is basically like a document, that addresses security vulnerabilities, that exist in your project. So one very nice, coincidentally, it was discussed during, I think I would also share this document. It was discussed during KubeCon on how it is becoming an important aspect of every project, right? Like I shared, there is a documentation that talks about, products ensuring that your vulnerabilities are made visible, to the users. And I did just a background research to see, how feasible it is, right, to incorporate it into Meshery, right? And so we have details about, what it entails. And I had help, right? I think Rohan, I don't know if he's on the call. He also chipped in. We did the research together and found out some ways to incorporate VEX into Meshery. So this is like an overview, right, of tools that are used to. So if you look up OpenVex, you get this like on VXD website, and then you have this tool center that talks about, tools that are used to analyze vulnerabilities in your code, right? Depending on what tool you are using. The vulnerability could be related to your image, could be related to your artifacts or your code base, basically. And one of the things that I found out, right, is the usage of a particular Go CLI tool, Go check, think it's highlighted somewhere here. Yeah, go on check. So I did a little, on my own to try out go on check on the Meshery repo, and this was the output of running that query. So I could probably do the same. Sorry, if my screen is too tiny. So sorry. So if I go run check on Meshery, so it looks up the oh sorry. So it looks up the Go model, that's the go.mod file, and then looks up a repository that has details on vulnerabilities that exist within your modules, right? And then gives you reports on that. I think during KubeCon, a file was shared, or a link was shared by Lee that shows the vulnerabilities in the Meshery image. I think that's where we saw the Alpine vulnerability, as well as the one relating to, if I can remember perfectly, I think the particular to SQL parser. So this takes quite a lot of time though, but let me just rush through. So doing my own research, I came across some tools that can be used, and I came up with I did this on my own personal projects, right? I came up with this simple workflow, and I'm utilizing three tools rather. One is Gripe. Gripe is, oh, sorry, sorry, I'm all over the place. Researching other CNCF projects that use Vex, that utilize Vex in their projects. I think the primary one that we came across was Koopscape, and Koopscape is all about, I think that is like the main usage of Koopscape to reporting vulnerabilities that relates to your Kubernetes. And looking up Koopscape, the documentation, I found out that they do use Gripe, which is why I looked up Gripe and I looked up that documentation. So basically what this workflow does is it installs Gripe, then it uses another tool to generate an SBOM, and your SBOM is basically your software bill of materials that has to do with, your modules, parts of your software basically. And then we take that SBOM, right, the file, and then use Gripe to do a vulnerability scan, right? And then Gripe gets that result. And I'm also using another tool, which is Material Scanner, which I do like because it gives you a nice UI, right, to report all those vulnerabilities. So basically, what this workflow does is it does that vulnerability scan, and then it creates a GitHub issue. So this is an example of generated, the generated issue that you get when you run the workflow. So you get, the dates, and then based on every model that has any particular vulnerability, you get an insight into the effect of that vulnerability on your project. So I think this particular one has to do with the DJWT, I think. So just basic details, get the severity, and then get the status. So in Vex, you have labels or status that you might put it. So labels could be, relates to how those vulnerabilities affect your project. So if it could be labeled as not fixed or fixed, then under investigation, so that's where this comes into play. Like I said, this is the basic rundown, and the other tool that I use this
Like, sorry to
materials
interrupt,
panel.
Oifule.
Okay.
Okay, so since like it seems to me quite of a topic like that can be covered in a separate meeting with other folks who are interested into this,
Okay.
and this is a great deal for us. Or like if it can be talked about on the CI meetings. So do
Oh,
you
okay.
mind if
Okay.
but yeah, if
Sure.
anyone up to this point has any questions or any pointers, feel free to chime in. We'll wait for 10 seconds. All right, thanks a lot. So
Yeah, wait. Yeah, I do. I do. I thought you were gonna wait 10 seconds. I was just, yeah. By the way, for all of you that are on the call, if you ever go to present something and no one offers any feedback, you start to wonder if anyone cares. Oyife, I care a lot. You put some thought into this. Thank you. It seems to me that there are potentially a couple of different actionable steps that we might want to take. I won't lead the question by suggesting what those steps are yet. Rather, I'll ask you you didn't get to go through the whole set of thoughts, but if you kind of jump to conclusion, is there
Okay.
one, two suggestions you think that might be appropriate next steps for us?
Okay. So we do have suggestions, right? I came up with this, and Rohan, documented this aspect of it. So this is what I was, demoing, the workflow, how you could look up tools that you can use to scan your vulnerabilities and then, have them reported. So you know what aspects of your security you need to look into, and you need to fix. And this is quite an interesting one, right? Because this has to do with, so
Got
vexing
it.
is not
Got
just
it.
about
Yeah.
models, it's also about, your vulnerabilities within your own project. So what this does is all about you, finding ways to report your security concerns, basically.
Yeah. Good. Very good. If you go to that very first bullet,
Okay.
research and analysis, investigate preferred choice of vulnerability analysis tool. Good. That's in part what you're doing here. The Cyclone DX Tool Center has multiple choices. You can test the CI tools and see of the workflow that you were just showing a moment ago, the one that identifies vulnerability, like does static analysis and identifies potential concerns, and then auto generates GitHub issues based on those. Which tool was that?
So
Gento
three,
CD?
three tools. One is the Cyclone DXD, which is this. So that's the one generates the S-bomb.
S-bomb?
Yeah. So, and then Gripe. So Gripe now
Good.
analyzes,
Got it.
uses the S-bomb to scan the vulnerabilities. Then I also use Metron. So Metron is like a different thing entirely, but it generates a report,
Yeah.
which is what I was showing, before I switched to this. So I already looked up three tools, which is, like I said, so, and then these other ones has to do with when you are reporting your own vulnerabilities yourself.
Got it.
So well documented.
Yeah, this is great. I wonder if you wouldn't throw Sneak into the mix in terms of like what Gripe is doing, as well as what Artifact Hub is using as it scans our container images. I think Artifact
Okay.
Hub is probably using
Okay. So I think part of the resources that I shared, I think if you look down, you see links to resources. I think this is a very, very interesting one. I'll suggest everyone takes a look at it because, it was discussed in detail, the whole flow of Vex, right? So right basically takes different ways.
Or if it
Like,
is
That's
a-
okay. Yeah, yeah. Or you say
Okay.
that's okay. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, hey, this
Okay.
is great. Look, let's get a please send this out to the developers at Meshery.io mailing list so that others can chime in. There are a couple of existing tools out there readily handy and readily at hand for us to use, like Sneak. I'm not saying we should necessarily. I'm saying if you can include that tool in as a comparison to say, here's what it does that's different than the others, or here's why you think we should use this tool versus that one. So in Artifact Hub, our container images are being scanned and we are being given a grade already. And that uses one of the popular open source container image scanners. I forget which one. But if you include those two tools, the container image scanner, the same one used by Artifact Hub, and Sneak, and then make a suggestion as to which you think we might start to incorporate. Sounds like Vex is probably one of the last steps about how it is that we communicate in a standard way those different vulnerabilities. So good. Okay. Yeah, I don't. Any final thought there, Oyife?
No, not really. But what I'll just chip in is that, based on what Artifact of reports, my analysis was that it doesn't report as much as Vex does. It gives like a quick overview, basically. So looking at what Artifact of reported was just one vulnerability, but running the workflow, I got to see like multiple, just more than one. So I would say we are keen to getting the right tool that does more analysis.
Yeah, maybe we should try running that workflow in the repo and see the results.
Right. So
All right, thanks a lot, Oyefule and Lee. Next up, Nikita, you would like to share about MeshSync?
Right.
So Nikita, I'm afraid there's some weird noise coming on your side. I just muted you.
1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Is it okay now? Hello. Okay, give me 1 minute.
I wonder if in the meantime we can cover this item from Pratik because Matthew is not on the call. Or if Nikita is ready, he can. I think he is going to fix the audio issue. So Pratik, do you mind sharing your update on this one? Looks like Pratik is also not on the call.
He just dropped.
All right, looks like then we'll have to go to Mahadevan.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'll share my screen. I have started sharing my screen. So I was raising a PR for the shape builder in the extensions repo, and the ESLint workflow was failing because it asked me to either run it within the Gatsby context or set node and as test. So my first step was to actually investigate the layer 5 repos because it's also a Gatsby site. So I wanted to see what's done there. So they are running build, and the workflow here is this. And because the workflow in this repo has been written like this, as in it's different. It only installs ESLint, then it runs and takes ESLint. So what I did was I made it install all the modules, and then I just set node and variable as test. So the workflow which was failing here runs successfully. Of course, these are all the linting errors that are left to fix. So this is the change, and it works. So, but yeah, if there's anything that can be done differently or to make better in the workflow.
Will you please make sure that the link to this pull request is shared in chat?
Yes, I'll do that.
And like, do you have any other maybe progress report on how much far we are from the completion of this extension?
Um, so it's just 1 second. Not much is left. I have to fix two things. One is to eliminate the loading issue. So that loading message is just a temporary loading problem that happens because the SVG.js file loads slowly. But otherwise, one can use it.
And like one
In
question,
my
why we are using the Gatsby library here? Like, is there any need of that?
this was meant to be just a static site, so I used Gatsby because uh, we use it. That's what we have been using. I had used other frameworks earlier, but then we wanted to stick to a certain template. So I was told that this is the template to use, and I used the Gatsby template for this.
All right. Any question or point of feedback for Mahadevan? Let's wait for 5 seconds. All right, so let me quickly circle back and ask Nikita if he's ready. If he's
Yep.
not, then
Do you hear me?
yep, it's fine now.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Yeah. Let me share my screen. All right. So yeah, let me share updates about like yeah, about the effort of making a snapshot with local file for a meshing. So like meshing is a software which is like deployed standalone also in the Meshery namespace. It communicates with kubectl API and it sends through NATS information about like cluster resources to Meshery server. Yeah, it was an idea like which was like arranged in the issue that it would be nice if we can like have a mesh sync and we can run it by as a binary like on our local, and that we would be able to have a cluster snapshot which we output in a file. So not in a NATS like which will be consumed somewhere by a NATS subscriber, but like in a file. And yeah, it was implemented and it was recently merged like as recently as yesterday. So yeah, let me briefly show how it is working. So we have like our mesh sync. It's the mesh sync repo. Yeah, let's build mesh sync, and now we can like specify mesh sync. So we say that we are doing output mode file, and yeah, then we can even specify that we want some particular Kubernetes namespace, and that we only interested in like particular resources. Like this. And what else we want to specify? Yeah, and we do not want it to hang, so it will run, we collect it, and it will stop. We run it, so like it's right now working, receiving like events from a kubectl API. And yeah, it stops after 8 seconds, and as you can see here, like it was like generated 2 files. One file is called extended, so it contains all content which in normal mode is sent to NATS, and the second one contains only like one entity per oops, something went wrong. Yeah, okay, so something didn't work actually. Yeah, but yeah, it should have actually a snapshot here. Yeah, we'll double check what the issue is. This is all updates.
Yeah, and
Thank
then
you.
so Nikita, one of the things that does this position us pretty well for a potential crew plugin? Like, would this be this more or less the same functionality that that plugin would?
Yeah, right. So like it's actually like almost a complete functionality for the crew plugin. So we only need like to package like this, like not as a, I mean, like I think it even can be like in the machine repository. Yeah. So like we just need to add like a kind of how we deliver a machine as a crew plugin.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. That confirm. Yeah. Good. That makes sense. That's cool. I mean, that's cool because I don't know that that was necessarily the context in which you were directly presenting this.
Yeah. By the way, I found the issue. So like, just let's spend your one more minute to show you that it's actually working. Yeah, you can meanwhile like ask your question. So yeah, it was just a wrong param name. So
One
we
of
are
the things,
stopping here, and here we have like a snapshot with the local file.
and that snapshot is directly importable into Canvas, I think.
Yeah, right. So like I have actually canvas here. If we have like one more minute, I can show. So like this is like the last one, 0.1. Yeah, and so we have like one port, second port, third port, and deployment and the replica set. And yeah, probably I should have shown that the cluster state which was used. So there's like a cluster which I have locally, and it has like Nginx deployment. So this is like this one.
Given that we're toward the top, I'm going to hold my questions since we're right at the end. But I do want to point out that Ijoma has been working on something else called Snapshot, and I think has a draft blog post on it on announcing that tool. We ready for that, Ijoma? And Ijoma, are you there? Did we just we just lost her. I think she maybe tried to speak and then the audio went out. Good. So Nikita, great. As part of this,
thank you.
you've enhanced the ability to white label or whitelist or blacklist particular resources of interest. Like, is that right? So there's a greater.
Kinda, yeah. So like, but it's like not similar how it's done like from a CRD. It's just like a quite stupid filtration. Like, so when we receive, yeah. So like with this command, yeah, I added an option to specify namespace, and I added an option to specify resources as a list, comma separate list. But yeah, so it's filtering it out like when it's receiving events from, I mean, before outputting like something to file or to nuts. So like in that way.
Nice. It is so users could specify. They could specify. Excuse me. They could specify which resources they're interested in retrieving through this argument. Are they also able to optionally specify that through a separate file?
Through a CRD, like no, not through a file. It's how it was working previously. How it's working, like I mean, still like in Meshery. So it actually reads from CRD, and yeah. So if CRD is available, then like it will take from there like
Got
this
it.
is like yeah.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense. That's great. Yeah.
Cool. Then yeah, that's all what I wanted to share.
All right, assuming there's no more question, if there's any, we'll wait for 5 seconds. Yeah, so I think that's all for today's call. I thank you all for listening in till now and participating. If you did not discuss any pull requests that you're working on, hopefully we will be discussing in the next meeting. Before we wrap up the call, just 2 things that I would like to quickly mention. The first one being the meeting calendar. So details on their timings and the topics and the channel where the discussions are held around those meetings can be found into this community calendar. You can subscribe to it to get all the updates. Also, whatever we discussed, it's now published on our community forum. You can refer to the live recorded session of this call too. So I will be dropping that in chat. With that, I'll also see if I'll meet you tomorrow in the newcomers meeting if you are there for this training by Amit. But for today, that's all. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Hey, it's great.